Nobody else? Okay, one more person. Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you. We got one more. Okay, here you go. Yeah, try not to spill too much on the church floor.
Go ahead.
Try not to spill too much on the floor. Yeah. Yeah, just dip it, go up there. Thank you. Okay. While they're doing that, does everyone know here? Yeah. She'll do it on your face. Yeah. Does everyone here know that you've been brainwashed? Okay, let me prove to you that you're all brainwashed. Okay, what food do you think of when I ask you what food has potassium in it? What food has the highest amount of potassium?
Avocado.
Okay, we got avocado. Banana. Okay, good. We got an avocado and a banana. Anybody else? Most people, when you ask them what food, if you need potassium, what food do you want to eat? Little racket going on back here. They're going to say bananas. Isn't that right?
But that's not right.
That's not right. But due to the marketing of Chiquita and Dole, right? Chiquita banana, they market that if you want potassium, eat bananas so much. Now let's take a standard unit of measurement and apply it to all foods. Bananas have about 400 units of potassium. Then somebody said avocados, your kale, your broccoli, all that. They're about 700-800. Blackstrap molasses, over 2,000, 2,300 if you use the same unit of measurement for all that, for your potassium. Anybody got problems with potassium? This is also so nutrient dense that you should put 2 tablespoons of this on your oatmeal every day, and you'll fortify your body with nutrients. Okay? Especially if you have women or any issues like that. If you have blood issues or whatever, you need that in our bodies. You can take 1 tablespoon of blackstrap molasses and put it in a gallon of water and use that to put fertilizer on your plants. You know, this stuff is powerful stuff. And what they're doing to these people, these guys are gonna, if you've never done this before, they're gonna feel their face, they're gonna leave this on for an hour, let it dry, and they're going to feel their face afterwards. It's going to be all soft, pulls all the impurities out. It feels great. You've done it before? Did you like it?
Yeah.
It's good stuff. And then also, one of the only good uses for white sugar is exfoliating your skin. And you can put squeeze a lemon and put it in some white sugar, and you put that on your face, exfoliate your face. Do that first, and then do this, and you'll be glowing. So they're looking good. You're looking terrific. Okay. How are we doing up there, Osama?
You look like you went to the tanning beds.
Oh, we're good here, huh? Okay. Yes, sir. Yeah, you'll have to run to the bathroom there.
I'm going to go to the bathroom water.
Okay, we won't wait for you. Excellent. You could just, hey, Dad, you could just sit here and lick your fingers. It's good stuff. Okay, you guys can come and sit down here if you want, if you feel more comfortable. You guys want to stay up there the whole hour? We're not going to be an hour, but you can come sit down here, and then you leave it on, and then I'll give you a time to go wash your face and come up here and show how great you look when we're done. Okay, thank you. Okay, Osama, I'm going to give this a shot. I guess we're not reaching. Are you going to be in charge? Yep. looks like you're going to be in charge, I guess. Oh, wait, did I do that? Did I do that? Did it work? You did it? Oh, okay. Okay. Let's grab our next slide then, if you don't mind. Okay, welcome. Tonight we're going to talk about nothing other than one of the most powerful. This is one of my favorite of the 10 laws of health, okay? So 10 nights we're going to do. This is sunshine. Tonight and tomorrow night are my absolute favorite and what I think are one of the most powerful nights. This one on sunshine, this is amazing. If you could bottle sunshine and sell it to people as a drug, you'd be unstoppable. This sunshine is one of the most powerful things. So let's get into this. These are we're going to go over these so simple. Before we start this, and you all know I'm preaching to the choir, okay? But tonight, you are going to go to a level that is going to hopefully jog some of your memories, but we're going to go to so deep. How simple is sunlight? You're going to be amazed. Let's get into it. So our next slide. Okay, sunlight has a bad rap, right? Better put the sunscreen on, the soaps, we're going to talk about that. A lot of the sunburns that we get is because of the soaps we put on, because of the cosmetics and the makeup, all right? We're going to talk a little bit about this, but sun has a bad rap. Yeah, from sunbathing, you can get dry skin, all right? Also, if you've already had too much sun on some parts of your body, I tell my dad, you'd never are to have sun on your head or your back again. But at the other times, I want the rest of him to get sun on the rest of his body because we need sunlight. But that's one of the most dangerous things. If you have metastasized your skin, it can go straight to your brain and kill you in 2 weeks. That type of cancer is one of the most deadly types of cancer. So yes, we're not talking about burning your skin here, okay? We're talking about getting 2 to 15 minutes, if you could, on your whole body, sunbathing, all right? On each side, but we'll get into that. Let's do our next slide. Okay, so yeah, the benefit of sunshine, the joy of sunshine. There's so much joy to it. Let's go to our next sunshine, or our next slide here. You might have to just push it one more time. What's that? So adequate sunlight, it gives us, one of the first things that it does is it helps our respiratory diseases. It helps cardiovascular disease, diabetes. We're going to go through all of those. But the way it helps our respiratory is it actually lowers your resting heart rate. When you get, after a sun bath, your heart rate, it's like being an athlete. Athletes, they strive and they have a lower resting heart rate than the rest of us do. And so sunlight actually helps you to decrease your blood pressure because what it's doing is it's opening up your blood and letting in more blood go through. So how does our heart rest? You sleep at night, right? Everything needs rest. When does your heart rest? No, not when you're sleeping. Your heart's still beating. It's slowed down. It's slowing down. Every other beat. So your heart is resting. It does its sleep in between beats. Okay, it slows down, right? And we know if you have tachycardia, you can, you hurt your heart. So if your heart beats less, it's resting more. And after a sunbath, they can register a 39% increase in blood flow 2 hours after sunbathing for 15 minutes. 39% increase of blood flow. That means instead of your heart going bump, 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 it's going to go bump, 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 because it's pumping more volume through, so it doesn't have to pump as often, okay? So not only are you going to be able to work more, you're going to be able to do more things, but when you get tired and you have to sit down, I got to sit down for a second, you can be back up. You don't have to rest as long because of sunlight, getting adequate sunlight, all right? So these aren't going to work at all, Osama? Oh, there's one. Well, we'll start from the beginning. No, that's okay. Wait till the end. We'll hold all our questions. If you got questions in the end, as long as these videos go, because it's going to take up the whole time. So your fatigue is your lessened, okay? Your heart is strengthened, okay?
How does sunlight, or lack of it, affect your health? Vitamin D, also known as the sunshine vitamin, comes from exposure to sunlight. When the sun's UVB rays hit the skin, a reaction takes place that enables skin cells to create vitamin D.
Vitamin D is related to many different things in health, not only bone health, but also musculoskeletal, also the ability to fight infections, to cancers, and a whole bunch of other medical conditions.
So being starved of sunlight can be detrimental to the human body.
Well, somebody who has very low vitamin D levels, who is not on vitamin D supplements, can have problems with bone formation. So it's how the bone forms with calcium and vitamin D, and that can lead to a condition called osteomalacia. It can also lead to increased fractures.
The Institute of Medicine recommends that the average adult get 600 to 800 units of vitamin D a day. And while severe vitamin D deficiency isn't common for most adults, supplements can help when needed.
There's vitamin D2 and there's vitamin D3, and both are effective at restoring the body's stores of vitamin D.
But too much vitamin D can hurt too.
And people who are on mega doses of supplements, for example, 100,000 units a day, can get vitamin D toxic. And the only way to know that is they'll get high calcium levels. So they'll get symptoms associated with high calciums, which could be things like confusion, abdominal pain, kidney stones, things like that.
And a number of studies are underway to investigate all of the health benefits associated with vitamin D.
Wow, he went pretty fast, but did you hear that? Did you hear all the benefits that he went through? Wow, a lot.
How does sunlight, or lack of it, affect your health?
Thank you. Okay. So you can overdose on vitamin D, right? You'd have to take a whole bottle. A whole bottle is probably 100,000. That wouldn't do anything to you. If you did it for quite a while, then it would eventually, maybe you'd get kidney stones, you get some other minor problems. But the 100,000 units is nothing. When you go out into the sun, you get 10,000 units, all right, just from being out there in 15 minutes. So you'd have to take a whole lot of pills before it would ever do anything to you. Next slide. Actually, we went backwards, so go forward a couple there. Couple slides. Okay. So what causes sickness and disease? This is the mantra to chat training. Our next slide. Next slide.
Before watching the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button below and clicking the bell icon to be notified whenever we publish a new video. Spending some time in the sun is a great way to raise your energy levels, don't you think? But did you know that natural sunlight has innumerable health benefits, both physically and emotionally? Today, we're going to give you the top 5 reasons why you should spend more time in the sun during your day-to-day life. 1. Natural sunlight improves productivity and lifts your mood. You've probably already heard that depression can happen during long periods of bad weather. But have you thought that maybe spending time in the sun is a sort of antidepressant? Being exposed to natural light improves your productivity and gives you more energy to finish your daily chores. 2. Regulates your circadian rhythm. The longer we stay inside, the more messed up our circadian rhythm, internal clock, gets. This is due to the fact that artificial light affects melatonin production, which is responsible for our body's sleep schedule. Do you think that your internal clock is irregular? Take a week off work to enjoy the sun. If you can't take a week off, at least take advantage of the windows in your home in order to improve your sleep. 3. More natural light, less electric energy. The more natural light your house is exposed to, the less electricity you'll need to light it and the less money you'll spend on electricity. 4. It improves eyesight. Think twice before putting on your sunglasses when leaving the house. Recent studies show that natural light is good for your eyes, while artificial light from the TV, our cell phones, and computers can harm our eyesight. There are studies that show that people who work at night without sun exposure are more susceptible to different types of cancer and other diseases. 5. It improves sleep quality. Have you heard about the negative effects of the blue light emitted by your smartphone at night? Artificial lights interrupt our body's melatonin production, affecting our ability to fall asleep. People who use artificial illumination at night normally sleep worse. Being in contact with natural light throughout the day will give you energy during the day and make it easier for you to fall asleep at night. With all of these benefits, it should be easier for you to understand why you should expose yourself to natural light more often, be it at home or at work. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. For more recipes and tips, subscribe to the channel.
Well, again, they said quite a few things there. I can hardly remember all of them. But basically, if we follow what the nature has, if we follow the sunlight, it's what everything else that we've done has kind of messed that all up, right? Coming inside. If you keep it simple, go out and get your sunshine, you'd just get all those benefits. You wouldn't have to, well, to get this benefit, what was that one? You'd have to remember, if I tested you all right now, what grade would you get on what would just spit out to you in a couple minutes? A ton of stuff. Just follow, it's so simple. But they just listed a ton of different things, you know? And some of us, when we go to bed, doesn't mean we're going to sleep, right? We got that light going into our cornea, and then it keeps us up at night, right? I don't know why I can't sleep. Well, you're putting this bright light, you know? Some of these things are super simple for us, you know? But a lot of lessons that were right there. So let's look at our next slide. How many of you have seen this before? So sickness and disease are an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of nature. So to say that backwards might make sense to me, but you're breaking the laws of health, right? So then your body responds and creates disease to fix the system, right? So some of us are more worried about breaking the speed limit out here, not getting a ticket, than we are about breaking the health laws. Space invaders. Thank you. But isn't it true that some people, right, you're more worried about your insurance going up? And we don't think about any of these health laws. They're real. These health laws are real, and our body's kicking out disease because of something that we did, or our grandparents did, or that nasty factory down the river, up the river put chemicals, whatever. It might be out of our hands, but the body is responding. Okay, next slide. Okay, can't read that far. Okay, so sun exposure, vitamin D reactions, okay? So what happens here, we're going to watch a couple more videos on this, but vitamin D, this is amazing. When sun strikes your skin, you already saw the video. It goes underneath your skin and it turns cholesterol into this amazing vitamin, which turns into a hormone in your body. And where does it take the cholesterol? From the parts of your body that are corroded, from those deep recesses that you have to do surgery to cut out. That's where it's getting the cholesterol. When it hardens your brain, the Russians did a study in 1970 that found that after sunbathing, it reduced the hardening of the arteries in the brain. Who wants to have hard arteries in their brain? Don't get any sun. Be afraid of the sun. Think of that. It reversed the hardening in the brain, okay? Amazing. So vitamin D and cortisol, right? We know that cortisol, these are these stress hormones, all right? Sunshine gets rid of that and prepares you in case you have stress in your life. Is that legitimate to say that anyone might have some stress in your life? Possibly. So maybe that's going to happen, so maybe you should get some sunlight sometime. No. You need to get your sunlight on a regular basis. And they've actually proved through electrocardiograms that getting it on a regular basis is exponential. Let's go to the beach, on Sunday or whatever for a couple hours. No. If you can get it every other day or every third day and you have a routine, it exponentially has this athletic effect to your body, this healing effect to your body. Next slide. Okay, so if I can't see that far either. So exposure needed to generate sufficient vitamin D may vary depending on skin color. Isn't that true? So the darker your skin is, the more likely you are to have jaundice, tuberculosis, diabetes. Isn't that true? And it's a comorbid effect. We're going to see that the more obese you are, guess what? Adipose tissue absorbs vitamin D. So the more overweight you are, the less vitamin D you have. And so you're more prone to diabetes, and if you're black or dark skinned, you're even more prone to it because you go out in the sun, you got so much melatonin, you're going to have to sit way more than a white person. And then the Hispanics are somewhere in between, right? Because the amount of melatonin you have, you're going to have to spend more sun. You don't want to get burnt. You want your marshmallow just golden, I don't know. We're not about skin color, but not me, In fact, I've come up with a new race. I no longer say I'm white or not Hispanic. They don't have one for me. Really, I want to put the human race. I don't believe in racism. I don't think it even exists. But I want to create my own that says pink with brown polka dots. But, my people are so small that they haven't made room for us. All right, let's click one more for us. We're just going through this. Daily sun exposure lowers blood pressure. Okay? Amazing. And how much does it lower blood pressure? 8%. Combine it with exercise, it's 15%. Do the math on that. If your blood pressure is 225 and you exercise and sunbathe, it's going to bring it down to 157. And all you got to do is go down and lay down on something and expose yourself to the sun and nobody else and roll over, That's it. Or if you can't do that because you live in the city, leave the city, all right? Or, get a solarium or, wear shorts. Dress like everybody else does in San Diego. Okay, our next one. Healthy vitamin D levels linked to blood glucose level. Okay, we're going to go over that, and that one will blow your mind. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Sunshine helps lower cholesterol. That's true, it does. 13% reduction of the dangerous cholesterol. 13%. After 2 hours of sunbathing, they tested these people's cholesterol and dropped 13%. What kind of drug can you take to do that? And not only this, but you'll hear another doctor say that this is the fountain of youth. You don't have to take drugs for this. All right, our next one. Cardiovascular disease, okay. Amazing on the heart. This strengthens the heart. Next one. Okay, we talked about this. There is a relationship between vitamin D and obesity. We'll go over that. Okay, so let's move on here. Our next slide. Thank you. Okay. What is the best source of vitamin D? Next slide. I'm going to have to push it one more time. Did she wave her arm, or was that an optical illusion I saw? Okay, all right, excellent.
Here's the second question. How many of you think the best way of getting vitamin D is through...
It's how many of you know what your vitamin D level is?
Put your hands up.
Look at that.
All right, now, here's the second question. How many of you think the best way of getting vitamin D is through milk or dairy products? Put up that little card that shows milk and dairy. All right? Now, how many of you think that, in fact, it's through cod liver and fish and other sources like that? A couple of brave souls there. And how many think it's the sun? Put the sun up. All right. So I'll tell you what. I think actually most of you got it right, because I think it's the sun. So let me give you the numbers you want to aim for. And by the way, you don't know your vitamin D level unless you check it. So
And you check it by a blood test.
simple to do, easy acceptable. Vitamin D is stored as something called 25 vitamin D. So you check that level, and your number one, it should be above 50. If it's between 30 and 50, you're not terribly deficient, but we usually try to supplement you. If you're below 30, you're way off the scale. Diane, what was your number?
15.
Always low. I would bet you that 60% of the people who are watching this show right now, you can see my face, have deficient vitamin D levels. And if you're dark-skinned or you're overweight, I can almost guarantee you, unless you're taking some type of supplement, because you know, vitamin...
Overweight, why?
Because vitamin D is fat soluble. So the fat sucks it up, takes it out of the system.
Oh, I see.
And so for a lot of people, they don't recognize it. Let me show you a quick animation to show you why the sun is actually the best way of getting those numbers. And if you're in the sun for 15 minutes, Diane, you'll get about 10,000 units. So as I run this animation, you'll see that what happens is that melon, the little bit of pigment, the bottom of the skin, begins to get released as you see more sun. And that little molecule that you saw at the very beginning, that was vitamin D being converted. So the sun rays hit us, converts the cholesterol in our body to vitamin D. That's why in the winter months, starting from right about now, our cholesterol numbers go up. Now, vitamin D was profoundly important to the history of medicine. Sanitariums, why did they evolve? They evolved because they knew that sunlight killed tuberculosis. Figure that all out. Now, what are the sources? Milk, reasonable source, but it's not the right kind of vitamin D.
Even the vitamin D supplemented milk is not the right kind necessarily.
Well, it's the vegetarian vitamin D2, and you want the animal version, which is what we need in our bodies. You can convert them. It's not that efficient. It's certainly a reasonable way of getting it, but it's probably not the best way of getting it. The sun, again, is the best way of getting it.
Excellent. Well, he can't be right about everything. I'm a D2 person myself. Okay. Wow, isn't that amazing? All right. All right, let's do our next, move on here, our next one. Amazing how that, right, can just sucks up the cholesterol. It changes your cholesterol into vitamin D. Isn't that great? Okay, yeah, so obesity associated with lower vitamin D levels since vitamin D is fat soluble. Makes sense, right, once they explain it to us. Next slide. Our next one. It's working. It's slow.
People who are obese may not have enough vitamin D in their system. British researchers combined data from over 20 studies and found for every 10% increase in BMI, vitamin D levels went down 4%. They say the vitamin is stored in fatty tissue, and if there is an excessive amount of fat, it could prevent the vitamin from circulating in the bloodstream. Vitamin D deficiencies can cause bones to soften and weaken. Vitamin D is made after exposure to the sun. Experts say simple activities like walking the dog or going for a stroll in the park could boost levels of the vitamin and help people lose weight.
So people used to fall down and break their legs. Now people break their hips and then fall down because of the lack of vitamin D. And you see how it's fighting against itself. With the obesity, you're getting heavier and your bones are getting weaker. And the heavier you get, the weaker your bones get. It's, I mean, designed by Satan, isn't it really? Just how simple this sunlight is. Oh, I'm not going to come to this seminar, it's just on sunlight. Do you understand how powerful what we're talking about is? This is changing, this could change your life, and this is just the first night. And we're talking about 15 to 20% reduction in cholesterol, in blood pressure. This is got to be divine. Something here is beyond all the stuff the medical, pharmaceutical people and doctors can get their hands on. God bless them if if some of these doctors were going to hear, you know. All right?
The sun often gets a bad rep as the culprit for diseases such as skin cancer, skin damage, and even cataracts. But today, we are going to let you in on a few secrets of the positive effects of the sun. First, did you know that sunlight boosts your levels of serotonin? Serotonin is a chemical in the brain that maintains mood balance. That means that sunlight can help the body to naturally produce serotonin and boost your mood. Did you know that sunlight helps your body to balance hormones that regulate sleep and wake cycles? Exposure to sunlight reduces the body's production of melatonin, helping you to stay awake throughout the day and drowsier during the night. Did you know that vitamin D is naturally produced by the body with the help from sunlight? That's why it's known as the sunshine vitamin. If you don't already enjoy daily sun exposure, try going outside for just a few minutes a day to reap the benefits. However, like everything else, sunlight should be enjoyed in moderation. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. Bye!
So one of the best benefits here is stress and anxiety. Stress and anxiety. I noticed myself that I told you earlier, it's not about just going once a week, but it's the frequencies, it's the consistency. And I tell you, I was doing this summer, and I noticed on the 4th day, I went to bed after the sun was dark, and I just felt my body was full of so much energy. I could feel something happening in me. And this consistency of getting just a little bit of sun, full exposure, because where I live, I can do whatever I want. City dwellers, I don't know, you have to invest in an inexpensive solariums. Anyway, the sun, some place to get the sun, and a sanitarium. The sense of well-being, when this combines some of our other lectures, exercise, fresh air, water, and when you're out there and this force that is bigger than the planet Earth is sending photons from outer space into your body that God created, it is part of the well-being of the Holy Spirit living inside you. You need to have peace in your heart to find out who you are, to find your purpose. And this sunlight is part of that, because it's part of the peace that God wants you to have. And you need that. When you're touched by grace, when you're touched by someone who you feel really understands you and forgives you, it's a similar feeling. The sun above and the Son of God can do the same thing and give us this feeling of well-being that expels the anxiety, expels the darkness. The sun is what we need. And it gives us this feeling of well-being. There's so many people that do not have this, do not have it. Okay, let's move on here. Dr. Zane. Okay, Dr. Zane. So the book on sunlight exposure could be dangerous for those who have a high-fat diet. Okay, next slide. So if you have the standard American diet called SAD, the SAD American diet, full of meats, full of grease. I mean, if you follow this message, it's hard to go out to eat. You can't go out to eat and not get food that isn't fried. And I mean, it's one thing to try and eat a certain way and ask if they're cooking with certain types of foods, But when you give up these greasy oils, forget about it. You're not going to be going to these restaurants. And did not COVID jack the price up anyway to double what it was? And you can't afford the gas to get there anyway, so just stay at home. So don't go out and get the sun. If you have the standard American diet and you're eating these foods, if you're eating seafood and meat and dairy, do not go out in the sun. Then follow what the government is saying. Then follow what everyone else is saying, because it's bad for you. Next slide. Dr. Zane's book, he says exposure could be progressive in a few minutes, right? We want frequent exercise. Infrequent is not as good. The electrocardiogram, this is a book that talks about the electrocardiogram that showed that frequency of sun bathing is more beneficial. But also, nutrition and sunlight are intimate related, he says in the book here, and that it has an ill effect on the standard American diet. This doctor literally says that you need an abundance of vegetable, grains, and fruits. You need to have what the Bible said to eat: vegetables, grains, and fruits. Those who have a standard high-fat diet should stay out of the sun and protect themselves from it. But at the same time, they will suffer the consequences of both a high-fat diet and deficiency of sun. And that's Sunlight, page 117 in their book, in his book. Okay, our next slide. Okay, vitamin D is one of the strongest ways to improve your immune system. Why? Because when those beams of light fly, how far away is the sun? Comes down and hits you, it turns the oils on your skin. Okay, we talked about what it did to the vitamin D. Now we're talking about the oils on your skin. It turns them into bacterial killing machines. The oil on your skin, when the sun hits it, turns it in, it goes around and kills bacteria all over your skin, on the outside of your body. Then it shoots inside your blood, and it turns your neutrophils. Your neurophages are the stuff that goes through there, and they kill your viruses and your bacteria. And guess what it does? It doubles. It doubles the neutrophil count. Doubles it. Okay, our next slide. Okay. Lowers your cholesterol. We talked about how it did that. Okay, our next slide. Type 2 diabetes. Okay, we're going to talk about this a bit. So let's go on our next slide. This type 2 diabetes, right? I don't want to give this away before we go through it. So our next slide. And the blood pressure, right? We talked about your blood pressure, how it completely helps your blood pressure, okay? Okay, next slide.
American Health. Dr. Mehmet Oz is here to change that deficiency. You know that 100 million Americans have vitamin D deficiency. Think about it. 100 million of us, including children. And experts say it could be critical in American health. Dr. Mehmet Oz is here to change that deficiency, one viewer at a time. Of course, he is the host of the Dr. Oz Show. It's so good to have you back with us.
Thank you much.
This vitamin is more and more implicated, as we said, in American health.
Well, vitamin D, if I had to pick one vitamin to push to everybody to think about again in their lives, it's vitamin D. It actually becomes a hormone in our body. And it's important not just for bone health, which is where most people think vitamin D is important,
Right.
but it's important for high blood pressure. It's important for cancer, breast, colon, prostate. And you know what? If you worry about the swine flu today, take some vitamin D because it's one of the best ways of enhancing your immune system.
Great. And let's keep going with the slides here. Also helps with arthritis. Okay. Exercise. When there's no exercise in the daily routine and if exposed to the sun at the wrong times of the day, one may experience adverse effects. So, of course, we want to get our before 10 o'clock in the morning or after 4 o'clock, right? Except in the winter, then you can go right and sunbathe at noon, even here in San Diego. Our next slide. Okay, lowering cholesterol. I think that's number 7. Okay, keep going. I think we want to go a few slides ahead of this. Yep, keep going. Anti-cancer fighting, because, okay, so why is it anti-cancer fighting? Because it increases the oxygen in your blood. Cancer can't live in an oxygen-enriched environment. Okay, next slide. We'll just keep moving along here. Okay.
Welcome back on this morning's Health Watch. Could the key to preventing cancer be just a vitamin away? Our own Dr. Jennifer Ashton is here with some new research on prevention and also some warnings about what not to take. Good morning.
Good morning.
There was a study out of the UK, incredibly promising. A daily dose of vitamin D can cut the cancer risk by 25%.
That's right. This is arguably, Maggie, the most important vitamin to all of our healths in terms of preventing diseases and actually potentially treating some existing conditions. In my house, believe it or not, it is the only vitamin we take every day, and I think people better get used to it. It's not going away. Every day we hear more convincing research.
And is it enough just to take it in supplement form, or do you have to get it in foods or sunlight?
Actually, you know, 15 to 20 minutes of sunlight.
There's such a thing as too much of a good thing. Is that the same with vitamin D?
Absolutely. In very high doses, this can be toxic, so you should check with your doctor. They can do a blood test to evaluate your level, and people are finding now that actually you want a higher blood level. Between about 60 and 100 is the number. If you take vitamin D in supplementary form, adults, healthy adults, can probably take 2,000 to 3,000 units a day. Check with your doctor, though, because they might want to monitor your doses.
What are some signs that you may be deficient in vitamin D?
Well, there are a whole group of people who are at risk for low vitamin D levels. Older people, if you're pale-skinned, overweight, ironically dark-skinned, and those who live in northern latitudes can actually be deficient.
Okay. Okay, let's keep moving with the slides. Thank you very much. Okay. We know that in winter, our immune system weakens, right? We went over that because of the vitamin D. Real quickly, arthritis, helps with arthritis, newborns, childbirth, jaundice. Here's some interesting ones. Gout. How about metal poisoning? Cobalt, manganese, what else? Cadmium, fluoride, pesticides. Coal dust, lead poisoning gets out of your body twice as fast after a sun bath. It doubles the speed of that. It also is for valuable trace minerals, muscle tones. Okay. Type 2 diabetes, let's go over that. Our next slide. Sunbathing after 1 hour is equal to 5 units of insulin. 5 units? Wow. I told this to a guy I was working with. He comes back a few minutes later. I called my doctor. You were right. Amazing, isn't it? Okay. In the middle of the second paragraph, type 1 diabetes later in life, 80%. Okay, so these kids, let's just read it. Finnish study shows that children who receive 2,000 units, which is a super low amount, it's your average daily amount recommended, beginning at 1 year and continued, decreased their type 1 diabetes by 80%, and kids who didn't had a 400% increase. 400%. That means this is what does it, people. That means this is the answer, right? Biophysicists, molecular biologists reported the low vitamin D were found in people in type 2. Okay, obviously. Okay, next slide.
A study by Australian scientists has found a link between type 2 diabetes and vitamin D. The research found people who don't produce enough of the vitamin are at risk of becoming diabetic, and it's estimated between a third and a fifth of our population is deficient in vitamin D, which is produced when the skin is exposed to sunlight. Peter Ebling is from the University of Melbourne. He's also Professor of Medicine at Western Health. He was involved in the study and he joins me now. So, Peter Ebling, if you are vitamin D deficient, how big is your risk of developing type 2 diabetes?
Well, we were actually able to look at this over the 5-year study where there were about 200 incident cases of diabetes. So for every 25 units that the vitamin D level went down, there was a 24% increase in the risk of getting diabetes, and that was independent of about 10 other risk factors that we looked at. So it's a significant increase in risk if you do have a low vitamin D level and other risk factors for getting diabetes.
Okay. Let's have everybody who got their facials maybe go and wash up and pepper.
They don't wash up here, they do it in the bathroom.
I didn't bring anything, I'm sorry. All right, our next slide. Okay, the University of Illinois did a study on their students and had them sunbathe. And they recorded that they attended class more. They were more alert. They attended class more. They had greater interest in their subjects. And it's about the stimulating a depressive nerve here. Where do people heal fastest in the hospital? When the window is facing south. They've done studies on this. People in a hospital with a window facing south, the same place you're supposed to put your plants. Huh? Okay. Ready for the next slide whenever you get it up there. So,
John Cannell made an interesting discovery.
I know my patients were exposed to influenza, but none of them got sick.
Why? One reason could be that 30 of Cannell's patients had been given vitamin D on a regular basis. That got Cannell thinking more and more about the vitamin's benefits and safety.
Child's never gotten into a vitamin D cabinet and gotten poisoned. That's happened hundreds of thousands of times with Tylenol or aspirin or other things.
Medical writer Bill Sardi says if vitamin D were a drug, its benefits would make it the most popular ever.
Because we're talking about diabetes and hypertension, and bone diseases, osteoporosis, and arteriosclerosis, and cancer, and autoimmune disease, and the list goes on.
Scientists found that list is so long because vitamin D actually regulates cells, systems, and organs throughout the body.
It works by turning your genes on and off, very, very basic function. So that's a very important fact about vitamin D that distinguishes it from any other vitamin. It's a steroid hormone. It's in a class by itself.
A major question and area of controversy regarding vitamin D is sun exposure. So health investigators hit the trail looking for answers. Doctors have observed that where there's less sun, there's more cancer, flu, and even autism. For instance, there's more of these diseases in winter, which has less sunlight. And there's also more of these diseases the further you get away from the equator, because there's less sunlight the further you get away from there.
Even here in sunny California, very few people get enough sun to make sufficient vitamin D in their skin for the best of health.
Down in San Diego, you can make it year-round, but even then, in San Diego, in the wintertime, you have to go right out at solar noon. There's only about a 2 or 3 hour period where you're going to make any substantial amounts of vitamin D.
But wait a minute, won't this possibly lead to skin cancer? Most sunscreen companies provide products that block the ultraviolet B, or UVB, from the sun. Those are the very rays you need to produce vitamin D in the skin.
Now they admit the UVA rays that the sunblock lotions allow to get in are the ones causing the cancer. So they let the one that causes skin cancer in, and they block the one that prevents it.
Statistics show skin cancer rates and deaths have actually risen since the sunscreen campaigns began 30 years ago. Cannell recommends keeping your time in the sun moderate. 15 minutes in a bathing suit during summer is plenty. You don't want to age your skin or cause damage from a sunburn. Not everyone agrees. The American Academy of Dermatology website finds it appalling that anyone in good conscience could make the claim that intentional sun exposure for any length of time is beneficial. Then there's the issue of darker skin, which naturally screens out more of the UVB rays that make vitamin D. Their blood levels of D are about half that of lighter skinned people, making a connection with the diseases that shorten their lives.
Heart disease and hypertension and stroke and cancer are the same diseases that have been associated with vitamin D deficiencies.
So it may not be surprising that vitamin D deficiency affects as much as 3/4 of the populace, especially as winter takes its toll on vitamin D levels. That depletion could be remedied and possibly reduce the need for flu shots.
Vitamin D activates your immune system, causes something to be formed called little peptides that kill bacteria and viruses without antibiotic resistance, without side effects. We can use it in very young infants and pregnant moms.
And not only help fight osteoporosis, but strengthen teeth as well.
Instead of using fluoride to harden our teeth so there's no soft spots where the acids can then eat into our teeth and cause dental decay, we can use vitamin D. It's more appropriate, it's more natural.
And D appears to boost athletic performance.
There's just clear evidence, especially in the German literature, of choice reaction time, balance, muscle strength, endurance, all improve with vitamin D.
Which may explain why senior citizens on vitamin D are less likely to fall and hurt themselves. And cancer? Sardi says in a new book that a major reason not to be so fearful about the disease is vitamin D. A key U.S. study in June found it provided a 60% reduction in cancers.
Canadian Cancer Society immediately told all of their citizens, begin supplementing with at least 1,000 units of vitamin D. American Cancer Society, mum's the word.
In fact, here is video of how vitamin D helps zap cancer cells, like the one to the right of the arrow. But 2 weeks ago, the National Cancer Institute released a study indicating vitamin D doesn't do much against cancer deaths. NCI normally prefers the type of study done in June, but Cannell says this new study fits their bias against vitamin D. Even at that, the new study did show the vitamin's effect on the number 2 cancer killer.
The people with the highest levels had 4 times less colon cancer than the people with the lowest level. I think that's pretty important.
So what's the best way for you to get the vitamin D you need? Not from food. Even fortified milk provides so little that it's trivial. Taking supplements is a far more predictable source than sunbathing, and the only source in winter for millions. Experts suggest the best daily intake is at least 2,000 units for most kids and 4,000 for most adults. Yet the government recommends only 200 to 600 units depending on your age.
Just the whole thing, when you think about it, is just patently absurd. And the government's been recommending this now for 10 years, and they refuse to change they refuse to even look at the science.
Cannell says he and his wife have taken as much as several 100,000 units for a few days when fighting off colds or flu. His usual daily dose is 5,000 units, a dozen times what the government recommends for him. He finds it a religious connection.
Here, the Lord is saying that there's a system that makes this much vitamin D this quickly, thousands of units a day from sun exposure. And here's a government over here saying you only need a couple of 100 units a day. So you can sort of ask yourself, who do you want to believe, God or the government?
Galen Tethrow, CBN News.
I absolutely love that, huh? Who knew Sean Connery had a brother that was a doctor? Who do you want to trust, the government or God? Wow, it's pretty clear, pretty clear. 200 units, and you go out here for 15 minutes, you're going to get 10,000 units. It's good stuff. Okay, our next slide. We're finishing up here. So I gotta say that you can get adequate sun in winter. UV rays, the sun only blocks 20% of UV rays. So if you have a window in your house that can get UV rays through it, you could get enough sun in the middle of a blizzard. So the sun, the clouds only block 20% of UV rays. That's why you can get a sunburn when it's cloudy outside. Okay? So even in winter, you could still sunbathe in your house, all right? And remember how important the diet was and nutrition on this. Let's have everyone come up who did their facials and check everybody out and give you a pinch. Anybody want to give us a testimony on that? 20 years younger. How's everybody feel? What do you think? You like it? You feel better? I can see a shine. I can see a glow. Yeah. Everybody here too? It's a natural glow. And how does your skin feel? Smoother, soft. Soft, okay. Yeah. It's good stuff. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much. All right. You can sit down. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So we could go on and on here, but let's look at this. Go back one more. That's all the references here. The sun, with all those planets revolving around it and dependent on it, can still ripen a bunch of grapes as if it had nothing else to do in the universe. And the sun is always shining whether there's clouds or not. And when we have gloom in our life, what does the Lord say? Lift up your eyes. Count the goodness. Know that the sun is still shining. I will praise the Lord in these trials. I will praise him always. I will always have his praise on me. And the sun is always shining. And thank you for coming.
Thank you, Damien. Can you tell us what's mañana?
Tomorrow?
Yes.
Oh, I do know a little Spanish. Sorry, I'm a concrete thinker. Tomorrow is more the same, but it's on. Tomorrow is even better. Tomorrow is on air. Okay. Even more simple, and on a serious note, super powerful. If you know anybody that has bitterness in their heart, bring them. This message is for them.
Did you talk about Healthy Self Sundays?
No, yeah, please do. Oh, no more thing. Oh yeah, let's talk about it. So, the Healthy Self on Sundays, right? Okay, so they're doing this. Mm-hmm. I thought maybe, this is so much information, isn't it? This is the first night. Well, we could add just a little bit to this, like maybe 15 minutes of, hey, how are we doing? Let's practice this. Let's go through these and keep these in mind. Let's have a little bit of Zoom accountability, a little bit of hey, I did some more. So we can continue on in what you guys are already doing on the Sunday, but we could add this to it. Yeah, go ahead, Dad. Yeah, go ahead. So testimony on what the sunshine has done to improve your health. Thank you. That's good stuff. All right. Well, thank you for coming. Oh, we got one more. Blackstrap molasses. Yes. Yes. So it doesn't do anything to your internals. It pulls it out. So blackstrap molasses is the first process in making sugar. So if you're pre-diabetic, one of the things to do to sunbathe. And then, you know, practice what we do in these other 10 nights. We talked about the sunbathing being 5 shots of insulin. Go ask your doctor how many shots of insulin you need to have a teaspoon of blackstrap molasses. I would assume, see, because what's happening is your glucose is, I'm not a doctor, but the glucose displaces the sugar, all right? So then in your body, that's why it's lowering the amount of sugar and increasing the insulin in there. It's the way that it's stored, something to do with the way it's stored. So this is just one night, okay? But I would think that there's more to it that we'll discuss in the future. All right.
All right, if you can give us another minute, we'd like to give you that 1-minute trailer for Serpentine Prophecy. Question from Lisa. Oh.
If everybody can check their pockets, some visitors found some keys that came off. A set of keys.
Did we find the owners? Yep. Praise the Lord. Can we show that video, Uzama?
An ancient lie. A disturbing thread tying the present to the past. Whispers from age-old tombs. Things that move behind the shadows. Are there dark influences? Unspoken forces that have been quietly driving us from the dawn of civilization? Where are they trying to take us? The Serpentine Prophecy, the story you weren't supposed to hear. An ancient lie. A disturbing thread tying the present to the past. Whispers from age-old tombs. Things that move behind the shadows. Are there dark influences? Unspoken forces that have been quietly driving us from the dawn of civilization? Where are they trying to take us? The Serpentine Prophecy, the story you weren't supposed to hear.